Mr. Speaker, I have had occasion to meet this gentleman called Laban Omusundi. I think in the specter of petitions to this House, he's in the same league as Senator Okiya Omtatah when it comes to litigating matters before our courts. Because Laban Omusundi never gives up, Honorable Speaker. In my time here in the Senate, I am sure I have heard his name more than once. He has brought good petitions here. And I really would wish that the House considers where Laban Omusundi is coming from when it comes to this particular petition. He is simply asking that wananchi need to be allowed to recall the president directly and the governors in the middle of their term. And Honorable Speaker, we should be asking ourselves as a House, why are Kenyans feeling that those of us who've been given responsibility to oversight the executive are failing them so much that they want to do this thing themselves? Honorable Speaker, there is actually history to Article 104, which gave the public the right to recall members of parliament in the middle of their term. Because there is a growing frustration, Honorable Speaker, with leaders in this country. You elect someone, they tell you this is what they are going to do. 2 months later, they are doing the exact opposite. And Honorable Speaker, because I've been in political party leadership, even in political party leadership, we've had very serious challenges that somebody comes and says that they support Linda Mwananchi, for instance. They go to the people as Linda Mwananchi. Immediately they are elected. And we saw it even in the beginning of this House. And I don't want to point fingers because I'll get into problems with the Speaker. Immediately we were elected. It didn't even take a month. People who were with us in our political formation of Azimio, including my good friend from Mandera, Senator Ali Roba, they ran away from us when we were going to now try and establish who is the majority and who is the minority in these houses. We saw them running away from us, Senator Khalwale. We were shocked that we had campaigned together as Azimio. We had been elected together as Azimio, and barely days, in fact, it was just a few days before we elected the Speaker of this House, people have already decided to jump ship. It is a travesty because the people elected you, not just because of who you are and what you promised, also the associations and the people that you worked around with, especially somebody of the stature of Raila Amolo Odinga. But what we have done, Honorable Speaker, is to essentially neuter that right of recall for members of parliament under Article 104. National Assembly, in its wisdom, following the provisions of Article 104, Sub-Article 2, to legislate how Kenyans can go about this, put together one of the pieces of legislation that was required to give effect to Article 104. But as has been explained by the committee, in the Katiba Institute case of 2017, the court found that that law on recall of members of parliament was unconstitutional. It was unconstitutional, Honorable Speaker, because it essentially made it impossible for Kenyans to exercise the right of recall. Parliament went and put as many obstacles as possible to a simple right that had been given under the Constitution to make sure that, of course, it didn't work. And it is a bit of one of the sources of the frustration of Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, because you see, we are essentially being asked as Parliament and the National Assembly, to be specific, to be judges in our own matter. I don't really think that the framers of the Constitution expected Parliament to ever pass a law that is detrimental to the interests of the members of Parliament. So it was not going to be Parliament itself making it easy for Kenyans to call them, to recall them. So they went and put obstacles there. There had to be a judgment of the court. There were specific grounds. It couldn't just be that you've lost popularity and you've been recalled, and so on and so forth. And that is why that law was struck down, Honorable Speaker. But the most important thing is that we have gotten to a place where Kenyans believe that Parliament itself has failed. If you look at the report at page 1, where it summarizes the petition, the petitioner has given 2 reasons. And those 2 reasons are a pointer to the feeling amongst Kenyans and how they view the institutions of accountability and oversight, being the National Parliament, National Assembly, the Senate, and even the county assemblies. At paragraph 4b there, you will see the petitioner says the reasons he brought this particular petition is concerned that Parliament and county assemblies are often compromised by political patronage, financial inducements, or party intimidation. The petitioner submitted that this compromised oversight leaves citizens constitutionally stranded when their elected representatives fail to hold the executive accountable. The second one is that these impeachment processes that the Senator Fonandi has referred to have become political rituals rather than genuine tools for accountability. This is the petitioner telling us that they are frustrated. They are frustrated by their representatives' inability to be able to hold executive to account. Part of the original sin, Honorable Speaker, I always refer to the first parliament after the promulgation of the current constitution. In 2013, the then, I think it was President Uhuru Kenyatta, had a big majority in the National Assembly. I remember they used to call it the tyranny of numbers. What the tyranny of numbers essentially guaranteed, and because many of these members of the National Assembly were elected on the president's coalition, they misunderstood their role to be the protection of their political leader. That there was no way you could bring an impeachment motion against President Uhuru Kenyatta because those were his people. I remember a famous case, Honorable Speaker, and I'm sure you do too, when there was an attempted motion of impeachment by the then, I think it was Mythical Inturi, against CS Anne Waiguru. And something happened in Naivasha there, and that motion just died in Naivasha. It disappeared. Up to today, Honorable Inturi has never given us what really happened, the full story of what really happened, and why that impeachment motion could not even be tabled. So the frustration, Honorable Speaker, is palpable amongst the people of Kenya. I have seen calls, even in the current administration, for the impeachment of the current president. Because if you go to Article 145, which specifies the grounds on which a president can be impeached, violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, or reason to believe that the president has committed a crime under national or international law. If you ask Kenyans, and many of them have called us on many occasions, telling us, Sifuna, honestly, this one is an impeachable offense. Do they believe that there has been some violation of the law in some of the pronouncements, in some of the actions of the current administration? Yes, they do. And I remember even on social media, I was seeing people telling us, you guys, even if it is just trying, you Linda Mwananchi people should try and bring an impeachment motion against the president. We just don't have the numbers. It is impossible to convince the members of the National Assembly who are allied to the president, for instance, now, to support a motion of impeachment, even in the face of the most gross violation of the Constitution. Even when they agree with you that this is wrong, this is unconstitutional, or the president has violated the constitutional law, they will still not support that impeachment motion. And that is where Kenyans are frustrated. If they are saying Parliament cannot even bring that motion against the sitting president, then they should have opportunity to do it themselves. So the procedures specified under Article 145 and 146 and the others that Senator Cherargei referred to are the source of the frustration. Do we believe that we have a National Assembly, for instance, that can impeach or bring an impeachment process against the current sitting head of state? Even in the face of the grossest violation, the Kenyans are telling us they suspect that we don't have a parliament that can do that. And that is where Omusundi is coming from. He is saying, give us that power back. Give us that power back, because political machinations have gone in, financial misconduct is in there in the petition, he says it. So Kenyans are frustrated. What do we do if the institutions of oversight have failed? So instead of condemning Mr. Omusundi wholesome, I think we should understand where he's coming from. His frustration is shared by many Kenyans, many Kenyans. They say we need to see our leaders doing something. Even in the county assemblies. There are county assemblies in this country where they can never even just bring a draft motion of impeachment against the governor. And the best example is the county government of Nairobi. I see people who are elected as MCAs in this county who cannot even draft a motion of impeachment without reference to their political parties and their political leaders. They used to come to my office when I was still the SG of ODM. They used to come to my office and say, SG, if we try this impeachment, will we be called? Then I said, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. At the very minimum, the people of Nairobi want to see you trying. If indeed the governor has failed as much as you say he has, and they always tag me there on social media, hey, oh, Sifuna should bring the impeachment. Everybody knows that I am a judge. I sit as a judge here. I wait for the assemblies, whether the National Assembly or the county governments, the county assemblies, to impeach the governor and bring him to me. You are telling me that MCAs from Nandi, MCAs from Kisii are able to draft impeachment motions, and you are elected as an MCA in an urban town, a city such as this, you cannot even show us a draft impeachment motion. Then they shout, oh, Sifuna, his friends with who, he can't do what. But that is the frustration of Nairobians. They are saying, how is it not possible for us to hold this gentleman to account? And that is where Musundi is coming from. He says he wishes the people had the right and ability to say, okay, the county assembly is unable to bring a motion, let us do it ourselves, put this thing to a vote, and they will remove that governor. We have county assemblies that have been intimidated. Others have been intimidated, others have been compromised, as Mr. Musundi says. They can never go after their governor. You have seen some of the things we have experienced here in the Senate, Honorable Speaker. We had a case where the assembly was burnt down, the assembly was invaded, the what is it called? The official Hansard was destroyed. By the time you reach here, everybody knows there are problems in that county, but the oversight institutions are unable to bring county governor to account. So Kenyans are sitting and saying, there is a problem with our...
Order, Cherargei. If the senator wishes to mention the county, he will.
Speaker, I don't want to be interrupted. Let me just conclude my remarks, Senator Cherargei, that indeed we have seen situations where there's a big problem in the county assemblies, but you just know that the governor cannot bring, or the MCAs cannot bring impeachment motions against the governor. There was another incident a few years back, Honorable Speaker, where a governor, fearing that MCAs would impeach him, he sequestered a large number of them at a coastal destination. At a coastal destination, they were just there chilling and having a good time on the account of the governor, so that you can deny the House quorum for them to be able to impeach you. So there's all sorts of tricks, and Kenyans are extremely frustrated. They are frustrated in the leadership, they are frustrated in us as a parliament, and they feel that we are unable to do what we were elected to do. I remember during the debate in 2024 on the finance bill. It actually exposed this frustration that we are talking about, Honorable Speaker. Because, can you imagine, you are elected to do what the people want you to do. The people tell you in no uncertain terms that they do not want you to vote for imposition of more taxes on them. And then you have members of parliament in the areas there running around saying they will not change even a comma, that they will vote the way they have been directed by the executive and not by the way in which the Mwananchi want them to vote. This is where the frustration is coming from, Speaker. You saw it yourself. And it took those young people storming parliament for us to be able to for them to get their voices heard. Because if you can't speak for them, they will have to speak for themselves. Speaker, I had even proposed that in terms of some of these more controversial laws that we vote on here, the vote should happen in the individual constituencies. Each MP should go to the social hall there and sit and vote when the people are there. Because these walls here, and this padding we have on the walls and this false sense of security, when you sit in this house, you feel like you are the boss of the people and not vice versa. There's people who, when they are here, they feel that they are insulated from the people. June 25th, 2024 showed that you can be gotten to if you refuse to listen to the people. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. So this conversation, I believe it's an important conversation. We have grown wary, our people have grown wary of leaders who get elected, make pledges, they run away from those pledges. We have frustrated the right to recall under Article 104. We have never been able to enact legislation to facilitate this recall for members of parliament. He wants us to move it even a step further by having direct recall right of Mwananchi by against the national governor, the county governors, and the president himself. And Honorable Speaker, we should not just send away Mr. Omusundi, because the last frustration that they face, Honorable Speaker, is that when we want to make amendments to the Constitution that appear to favor us or are beneficial to us as in the leadership, we do it very easily and very fast. Right now, the committee is telling Mr. Omusundi that he should go and prepare constitutional amendments. Yet, Senator Maanzo, even us as a parliament, as a house, we have powers to amend the Constitution. We do have powers to amend the Constitution. If you really wanted to be fair to Mr. Omusundi, you should have told him that we as parliament will take up this responsibility, because we had a conversation here, I think it was in 2023, the NADCO conversation. The NADCO conversation had proposals on how to amend the Constitution to address some of the concerns that had been raised during the 2023 protests. And I remember one of the most controversial proposals was introduction of new positions in leadership in this country, including the position of leader of opposition and the others. Kenyans are frustrated that every time we push constitutional amendments, it's just for us. It's just for us. They ask us every day, when will you ever do something not for yourselves, but for the country or the ordinary mwananchi? So I would have encouraged the committee to tell Honorable Musundi, instead of just sending him away saying, go and prepare a constitutional amendment, we should have said, as part of the conversation we have been having in this house about constitutional amendment, one of them is this. And we should even make it easier now, when we come to the election of 2027, to recall members of parliament who go or depart fundamentally away from the promises that they made to the people. With those many remarks and the amendments that are proposed to the recommendation, Honorable Speaker, I support.